Sir, this somebody is in waiting room. This all you take care, no, sir, to admit.
Sir, sorry, sir.
In this, there are no. Some of them wants to. Oh, yeah, it's done already. Admit. So the name comes with admit.
Yeah.
You take. Okay.
Yeah, we are taking care, sir. We are taking care.
That's nice. That's nice.
Dr. Vijay, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, good evening to one and all present here. I welcome you all for the second day of our science talk on Nobel Prize contagious. Here, we SRM, Institute of Science and Technology, we SRM, the Institute of Science and Technology, is proud to have this science talk on this. Now, I request our HOD, sir, to give the welcome address to the gathering. Sir?
Yeah, very good evening to one and all present here. Warm greetings and very good evening to one and all present here. Alfred Nobel envisioned a better world. He believed that people are capable of helping to improve society through knowledge, science, and humanism. This is why he created a prize that would reward the discoveries that have conferred the greatest benefit to humankind. Scientists often have to wait decades to have their work recognized by the Nobel judges, who want to make sure that any breakthrough withstand the test of time. To inspire generations and disseminate knowledge about the Nobel Prize through educational efforts and digital outreach, Department of Physics, SRM IST Ramapuram campus is organizing a 3-day virtual international science talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics on April 4, 5, 6, 2023. This science talk aims to stimulate discussion at the highest level on a topical science related theme by bringing together university professors, lawmakers, leading educationists, academic scientists, researchers, and scholars in the domain of interest from around the world. This initiative seeks to bring the students and researchers into the closer contact with the worldwide scientific community and especially with an audience of young scientists. By bridging science and society, it's an opportunity to stimulate thinking, excite imagination, and inspire greatness. More than 500 participants registered so far, participants from all over the world, including all parts of India, Indonesia, Germany, Pakistan, Tanzania, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Turkey, Brazil, and Sultanate of Oman. Esteemed guests, dedicated participants from all over the world, it's my great honor and privilege to welcome you all to the International Science Talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics. First and foremost, we are very delighted to welcome Professor Jagan Mohan, the Department of Chemistry, IIT Madras. He will discuss on Nobel Prize for Chemistry 22 Click Chemistry. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Ritu Tyagi from Pondicherry University, and she will narrate Annie Ernaux's major themes and strategies in narration, the Nobel Prize in Literature for 2022. Welcome, madam. Thirdly, we extend our heartfelt welcome to Dr. Ravi Inder Singh, professor in finance from Punjab University Regional Center, Ludhiana, and he will discuss on world financial crisis, lessons and policy implications from his rich experience. Welcome, Professor. It gives immense pleasure in welcoming all the participants from all over the world, the day 2 of International Science Talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics. Once again, welcome you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's my privilege and honor to welcome our professor, Jagan Mohan sir. Masilamani Jagan Mohan sir was born in Tamil Nadu. He received his bachelor degree from St. Joseph College Cuddalore, the University of Madras in 1998, and his master degree from University of Madras in 2001. He earned his PhD from National Tianhua University, Taiwan, and pursued his postdoc in the same university from August 2005 to July 2009. In November 2010, he joined as assistant professor in IISER Pune. Then he shifted from IISER Pune to IIT Madras as an associate professor. At present, he is working as associate professor in IIT Madras. His broad research areas of interest are metal catalyzed organic reaction and natural product synthesis and asymmetric synthesis. Sir, we are proud to have you, sir.
Thank you, madam. So thank you very
Thank you,
much
sir.
for your kind invitation, as well as, thank you, sir, for your invitation. Your introduction. So what I do is that I share my screen and then I will start my presentation.
Sure.
Yes. So are you able to see the slides, sir?
Yes, sir. Very fine, sir. Very fine.
Okay. So good evening. Today, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to discuss Nobel Prize winning reaction in chemistry 2022. The reaction, the name is click chemistry. For the excellent contribution in particular area, Professor Sharpless, Caroline and Martin, 3 professors have received Nobel Prize in this area. And it is also important to point out that Professor Sharpless received Nobel Prize second time. So in 2001, he received already 1 Nobel Prize for asymmetric epoxidation reaction. So by using titanium catalyst along with the chiral ligand, he can able to introduce epoxide group in a highly stereoselective manner. So that is his first contribution. He has received Nobel Prize in 2001. And then last year, he has received for click chemistry. So this is the key point I would like to emphasize. So before going to the topic, let us see what is click chemistry. So it is a broad definition. So like this click chemistry does not fit with only particular reaction. It is a broad definition. Like here, Professor Sharpless has introduced this term in year 1998. So what he was pointing out that if any chemical reaction fall into the category, like some important points are listed out here. If the reaction fall into this category, then we can call it that is a click reaction. So basically, the reaction should be very selective and then robust. Okay, and then the reaction conditions should be very, very simple, and then the reaction should be highly economical and environmental friendly. So whatever, and then the rate of the reaction also should be really good. And then as much as possible, we have to avoid the waste of, unwanted byproducts. So if the given chemical reaction fall into this category, then we can say that the reaction is, the corresponding reaction is click reaction. So in organic transformation, there are examples, the reaction can fall into this category. The example is the cycloaddition reaction, nucleophilic substitution reaction, condensation, carbonyl condensation reaction, addition reaction. This all reaction also can be called like a click reaction. Okay, so this is the general definition. So for example, if we discover some reaction and then that reaction fall into this category, then we can also call that the corresponding reaction is a kind of a click reaction. Okay, so this understanding we should have before going to the topic. So this is a broad definition. Okay, and then which all are listed out here. And then if you look into organic transformation, so generally this in mechanistic point of view, this organic transformation can be divided into three types. So one is polar reaction, second one is radical reaction, and third one is pericyclic reaction. So polar reaction is nothing but reaction between electrophile and a nucleophile. So this electron come from a nucleophile, and then this electrophile dissolve, we know it very well. Okay, so there are several reactions, come into this category. The reaction between nucleophile and the electrophile, this type of reaction is called polar reaction. And then radical reaction, for example, if we are having neutral molecule, by adding electron or removing electron, we can be able to generate cationic or anionic radical intermediate. And then later on, that corresponding intermediate is highly stable. It can lead to radical intermediate, and then further transformation can happen. So this type of transformation has been happening in the nature into day-to-day life. This type of reaction is called radical reaction. And then third one is pericyclic reaction. So this pericyclic reaction is nothing but rearrangement of electrons. Okay, so let us take here, electron rearranges, and then you can leave some bond, and then you can make new bond. So it's a such kind of transformation. So whatever click reaction we are going to discuss today, cycloaddition of alkyne with azide, fall into this category, pericyclic reaction. So this reaction has been happening in nature. So plant produce lot of very, very useful molecules by using this pericyclic condition. And then moreover, for this kind of transformation, you need light or heat energy. So reaction happens very smoothly under ambient condition. Okay, so this is the important point to mention here. And then in mechanistic wise, most of this pericyclic reaction goes in concerted manner. What is concerted reaction? So generally in this reaction, bond formation and bond breaking takes place at the same time. So in polar reaction, what happens? You get intermediate. So first you take starting material, it reacts and then forms certain intermediate, and then after that, your nucleophile goes and attacks, and then you make a new bond. Okay, so those type of reactions, polar reactions goes in that way. But pericyclic reaction, if you see here, it is concerted reaction. Bond formation and bond breaking takes place at the same time. And then in this transformation, you have only transition state. Okay, so you don't have any intermediate, you have only transition state. So already I told you that it is just rearrangement of electrons only. Okay, sometimes if you are having pi bond, and then pi bond rearrange, and then make sometimes cyclic molecule, and then sometimes ring opening reaction can happen. This all goes by a concerted mechanism. And then moreover, for this kind of transformation, you need only thermal or photochemical energy that is good enough. So reaction can happen very smoothly. The pericyclic reaction, because this today's, this 2022 Nobel Prize reaction belongs to this category. We will see which category that reaction belongs. So pericyclic reaction again can be classified into three types. One is electrocyclic reaction, second one is cycloaddition reaction, and third one is sigmatropic rearrangement. This electrocyclic reaction, if you see here you are having open cyclic system, and then here rearrangement of electron happens, and then you get cyclic molecule. And then sigmatropic rearrangement, what is happening here? In this reaction, we break the sigma bond and then introduce sigma bond over there. So, this type of reaction is called sigmatropic rearrangement. But, the cyclic reaction fall into cycloaddition category. So, what is cycloaddition reaction? Here you need diene one partner and dienophile another partner. So, both undergo cycloaddition reaction under thermal or photochemical condition leads to cyclic product. So, this reaction is highly atomechanical. So, for example, if you take here, if you are having a starting material A and B, let us imagine here you are having butadiene, and then here you are having alkene. So, if you put it molecular weight, if you add A and B, your product molecular weight also same. So, this type of reaction is called highly atomechanical reaction. That is very, very interesting. And then this is also very, very selective reaction. Okay, so this cycloaddition reaction is, like it's a broad area. So the cycloaddition, whatever I have explained here, it is called 4+2 cycloaddition. So why 4+2? We say in this partner, okay, in diene partner, 4 carbon is involved. In dienophile partner, 2 carbon is involved. That's why the number came 4+2. Okay, so like that, we have several type of cycloaddition reaction in this category. So like a 4+2 cycloaddition, generally it is called Diels order reaction. So 1,3 dipolar cycloaddition, and then 4+3 cycloaddition, 2+2 cycloaddition, there are, and 2+1 cycloaddition, there are several types. But this click chemistry, whatever we are going to discuss, fall into 1,3 dipolar cycloaddition category. So 1,3 dipolar here, this is, so here this 3 carbon system or a 3, element system, it undergoes cycloaddition reaction with pi component to produce pi member. Okay, so here 6 carbons are there in the cyclic system. It is called 6 member, and then here this is 5 element is there. So this is called a 5 member. So the click chemistry, whatever today we are going to discuss, that fall into 1,3 dipolar cycloaddition category. Even in 1,3 dipolar cycloaddition category, you have plenty of transformation. Okay, so this is one is called diene and another one is called dienophile. It's all we have discussed very elaborately. But the today reaction fall into this cycloaddition of E-leg, the cycloaddition of azide. You see here the cycloaddition of azide with bicarbonate. Okay, particularly with alkane. So this is the one we are going to discuss. So before going to the reaction, how this mechanism happens. Whenever we talk about cycloaddition reaction, if you want to understand mechanism, you have to look into molecular orbital bonding. That's a diagram. So generally, if you see here, because why organic transformation happens, you are having 2 starting material. Why 2 starting material have to react? The reason is that this all starting material would like to form very, very stable compound. In order to get stability, this kind of transformation happens. So in particularly cycloaddition reaction, if you look here, one component, in mechanistic ways, if you want to look, one component you have to look homo molecular orbital picture, and then another one is LUMO. Okay, so this kind of molecular orbital one you should take. Okay, so and then generally for this kind of cycloaddition reaction is classified into 2 types. One is suprafacial bond formation and another one is anterofacial bond formation. Let us imagine this is one of the reactant homo, and then this is another reactant. Okay, so my molecular orbital, this molecular orbital, orbital symmetry should match. Then only reaction will happen. So here the blue cartoon is there. So symmetry is same. Symmetry is same. So here blue cartoon is there, and then red symmetry is same. So then this type of addition is called suprafacial, and this is allowed process, symmetrically allowed process. Okay. So anterofacial addition, what happened? Here you are having symmetry, but here you don't have any symmetry. So in this case, what is happening here? In order to make this reaction proceed, here 180-degree twist happens, and then make it sure that this both should have same symmetry. And then in this, if you are having both the symmetry same, and then your bond formation happens very smoothly. But generally, by looking, theoretically, there are two possible pathways, superficial and anterofacial. But if you look practical purpose, mostly, the superficial process is very, very successful. Okay, so keep in mind, when this chemical bond formation happens, energy of orbital, the reactant, starting material, whatever we are saying, which molecular orbital is going to involve in this transformation, that energy and symmetry should be similar. Then only new chemical bond formation happens. Okay, so in this way only you have to look. Let us take one example. Now I am having alkene system. Okay, so this is 2-carbon system. So I am having ethylene. Let us imagine. Okay, HOMO means highly occupied, the orbital. So here you are having more electron density. So this is this molecular orbital is called HOMO, and then this is called LUMO. Okay, so now what we are doing, we are having two olefin. Let us imagine. So for one olefin or for one ethylene, you have two orbital. One is HOMO and another one is LUMO. Similarly, for another reactant, you have HOMO and LUMO. So when you perform this transformation, for one alkene, you have to take HOMO and another one is LUMO. Okay, so this is HOMO. Okay, it is here. LUMO of another one, yes, it is there. But if you see here, in this case, symmetry doesn't match. In this case, symmetry matches, but here it doesn't match. So this is the case in thermal condition. So thermal condition, you can't do 2+2 cycloaddition. Okay, so why we call it 2+2? 2 carbon are there, here 2 carbon are there. So we called it a 2+2 cycloaddition. Under thermal condition, the symmetry doesn't match, so reaction doesn't happen. Okay, so now under photochemical condition, what we are doing here is that if you take this moiety and then if you expose under light, okay, so what will happen is that this light, if this electron is there, this electron takes energy from light and then excite. Okay, so now HOMO, how do you call where you are having electron density? That layer you call HOMO. So now this part become HOMO. Okay, for one alkene. Okay, so now I have taken HOMO under photochemical condition. So when I can do reaction, my another partner, HOMO-LUMO combination only will work. Okay, so and then the LUMO already for alkene system, this is LUMO. If you see here, both match perfectly, symmetry matches. So what is conclusion here is that if you want to do 2+2 cycloaddition reaction, you should not go to thermal condition, you should go to only photochemical condition. Similarly, if you are looking for 4+2 cycloaddition reaction, so if you see here in thermal condition, if you look into, let me here, if you talk about butadiene system, there are 4 molecular orbital. So this part is called HOMO. Okay, under thermal condition. Okay, and photochemical condition, if you expose light, this electron takes energy from light and then excite. So now this is called HOMO under thermal, under photochemical. This is photochemical and then this is thermal. Okay, so now you see here, now this is HOMO. Okay, here this is a 4+2 cycloaddition, and then this is 2 system. So here symmetry matches. Okay, whereas in photochemical condition, symmetry doesn't match. Okay, so overall, too much technical detail is not needed here. So overall, this is the conclusion. If you want to do 2+2 cycloaddition, 4N system, okay, so you have to look for a photochemical process. This is the favorable one, and then 4N+2 cycloaddition, thermal is favorable one. Okay, already I told that. Theoretically, anterofacial type addition is possible, but practically we don't have. Okay, so this is in this way only we have to look into the mechanism. So all dipolar cycloaddition reaction happens in this way. Okay, so now let us talk about cycloaddition of azide at today's reaction. If you see here, already Professor Rolf Uzgan, okay, so around 1963, he has done this transformation. So what he has done is that he has taken azide and then treated with terminal olefin. So since this terminal olefin is this unsymmetrical structure, so here 2 different type of products were observed. Okay, so here 2 products were observed. So that is the discovery of Professor Uzgan. Okay, this reaction happens in so 3+2 cycloaddition manner. Okay, so what is the contribution of Professor Sharpless and then Morton Mellado? Okay, so their contribution is that they have performed same transformation, okay, in the presence of catalyst. Okay, so in 1963, already Professor Usigan performed this reaction under heat condition. So here they got two products, 1,5 isomer and another is 1,4 isomer. In the presence of catalyst, okay, so once the catalyst presents, this Professor Morton, Mellado, and Sharpless found that reaction is very, very selective, and then only one product is observed. Okay, that is called 1,4 isomer form. Another form doesn't, like a form in this transformation. So that is the greatest achievement in terms of selectivity. So due to this contribution, Nobel Prize is awarded. Before going to that, let me give a little bit introduction about catalytic reaction. Okay, so this catalytic reaction can be divided into two types. One is homogeneous and another one is heterogeneous. So in overall case, particularly if you look into homogeneous case, generally people say like, let us take a 3+2 cycloaddition itself. So if you want to, you can perform this reaction under thermal condition. Okay, so but here you have to apply huge amount of energy. I told you that when you perform this transformation, transition states forms. Okay, so here transition state forms. If you want to get product, you have to apply huge amount of energy. Okay, so but the same transformation, if you perform in the presence of catalyst, what happens? This activation energy decreases drastically. Okay, so in that way you can decrease activation energy. So for example, in thermal condition, if I do reaction above 100 degrees Celsius, in the presence of catalyst, I can do at ambient temperature, room temperature itself. Okay, so this catalyst decreases the activation energy of transition state, but in that way, by using this profile, energy profile diagram, we can explain. Okay, so how it is possible? I don't want to go in detail. In catalytic reactions, several intermediates are possible. In typical cycloaddition reaction, I was telling that only transition state is possible. But in catalytic reaction, what happened? You have transition state, you have intermediate. So due to the several transition state and intermediate possibility, so activation energy decreases. Okay. So in this way, what Sharpless and then Professor Martineau have done is that they have combined this catalytic concept into organic transformation. Okay, so here what advantage they have observed is that when they introduce catalyst, reaction happens at ambient temperature. So you can decrease the activation energy, and then reaction is very, very selective. You can able to get 1,4 isomer. Okay, so what is exact contribution? If you see here in 2001, Meldal, this group have performed this transformation. So what they have done is that they have taken terminal olefin and then treated with azide. In the presence of copper 1 catalyst, they could be able to get 1,4 isomer product exclusively at ambient temperature. Okay. In same year, Professor Sharpless have performed the same transformation. Okay, and then they have reported in Angwenda Chemistry. So both have done. Both have contributed in this chemistry at same year. So that's why the Nobel Prize have been awarded to both of them. Okay. So, and then in this, why it is called a click chemistry? The reaction happens at ambient temperature. Okay. And then reaction is also highly atomechemical. And then reaction rate is so fast. Okay. So reaction happens very smooth manner. And then so that, this chemistry overall, whatever in 1999, Professor Sharpless pointed out, this particular reaction fit within it. So they have named it, this reaction is cyclic chemistry. Okay. So, and then, by looking, this reaction is very simple, but, this reaction has potential application, okay, in several areas. Okay, you can take polymer industry, drug, pharmaceutical industry, medicinal industry, and then even biological sciences. This concept has a broad application. Okay, so so to recognize that, the award has been given for this transformation. Okay, I don't want to go in detail. Okay, this all are contributions, and then what is happening here? What is the mechanism? Okay, so in thermal case, two type of products were observed, but in catalytic case, only one product is observed. What is the reason? Okay, so if you see here, this is the mechanism. So what is happening here? Let us see what is the role of catalyst. Okay, so now you are having terminal olefin. Let us imagine. Okay, so in this transformation, when you take this terminal olefin and then treat with +1 salt, you get it copper acetonide. Okay, so this kind of intermediate formation happens. How this transformation happens, we have to look into very closely. If you see here, basically by looking here, substitution reaction happens. Okay, so this hydrogen, so base deprotonated this hydrogen. After that, substitution happens, and then you have acetonide. If that is the case, if you see here, pK value of this particular hydrogen is around 25. Okay, so you need strong base to deprotonate particular hydrogen. But if you see in this contribution, they have used only mild base. So what is happening here? So you have to look organometallic bonding over there. So first, what is happening? This alkyne system is there. Here, electron cloud is there. So it has more electron density. Okay. So in organometallic chemistry, how we look into it? All organic molecules are electron rich, and then most of transition metals are electron deficient. Okay. Why we called it electron deficient? If you take any transition metal, it has partially filled d orbital and then completely empty s and p orbital. So wherever electron density is there, metal takes electron density. So you have to look, organic moiety is nucleophile, and then metal is electrophile. So in this way, if you look into it, so here you are having nucleophile, and then here you are having electrophile. So this electron density transfer happened to copper. Okay, so during electron transfer, so what is happening here? Copper gained more electron density, and then what is happening here? The sigma bond also try to give electron density to this pi system. During that time, this particular hydrogen is there. It's covalent bond, elongation happens. If you see here, this elongation happens, okay, and then your copper coordinates there itself. So after having this pi bond, if you look at pK value, it is less than 8. You see here, originally pK value was 55. After this pi bond formation, this pK value decreases drastically. So now your mild base deprotonates this hydrogen easily. After that, like alkylation, kind of, like the substitution reaction happens, you could be able to generate copper acetonide. Okay, so now let us come into regioselective issue. So what is happening here? This nitrogen is there. This nitrogen bind with copper, and then the other orientation. Other type of orientation is not possible. That's why cycloaddition happens in a highly regioselective manner, and then you could be able to make 1,4 isomer. Okay, so this is the mechanistic way you have to look into it. So, but if you see here, this mechanism is well proved. Each and every intermediate have been isolated, and then it has been explained very well. And then, as I told, this click chemistry has broad application in several areas. Okay, when by looking organic transformation, you can, by looking, it's very simple. Okay, but like this, if you see here, if any transformation, like happens in highly selective manner, and then if you are able to make heterocyclic molecule, this kind of molecules have potential application in several areas. Okay, so like the click chemistry have been widely used to prepare organic materials, pharmaceutically active molecules. This all under mild reaction. So due to this, like a fantastic contribution of this reaction in several areas, so Nobel Prize Committee recognized this area, and then Nobel Prize is awarded. So this is the contribution of two professors, Professor Sharpless and then Professor Muldoon. Okay, so that is their contribution. So now let us come to third professor, Professor Caroline. She also received Nobel Prize along with these two professors. What is her contribution? So Professor Caroline introduced a new term called a bioorthogonal reaction. What is bioorthogonal reaction? Reaction happens in biology. So let us imagine, like we all are doing transformation outside, in laboratory. So if you do, the transformation within biological system, let us imagine within cell system, then those type of reaction is called bio-orthogonal reaction. She has introduced this term and then she has demonstrated very well that this kind of quick reaction can be done within cell. Okay, so it has potential application in chemical biology. So what is her interest? Let us see here. Let us, let us see here. We all know it very well. Cell. Okay, our body is made up of cell. Okay, we know it very well. So in cell, it is covered by a cell membrane. If any antigen or any outside material wants to enter, it has to cross our cell membrane, and then only it has to go to inside the cell. Okay, so like a virus, this all goes in this way. So what is happening here in cell membrane? Okay, so there is a biomolecule called the glycolex. Okay, it is nothing but it's a glucose moiety. Okay, it's a thin layer of glucose moiety. It is covered above the cell. So first, what happened? If any antibody wants to go inside, first it has to cross this glucose, this thin membrane. After that, one it can enter to cell. Okay. So during that time, what happened? Like if any antibody enters, this glycosyl moiety is there. No, it gives message to our immune system. Okay, so this LUM node is there, it gives message, some antibody is entering the cell. So what happened immediately, our immune cell comes to the particular area and then fight with this antibody and then try to kill this antibody. In this way only our biological system works. Okay, so the Professor Caroline is very much interested to study this glucose moiety. Okay, so that is her interest. So initially what she has done. Okay, so we all know it very well how our body makes like this glycosyl. So we take food. Okay, this food contains a carbohydrate. This glycans. Generally, we call the glycans. Okay, so this glycan goes into our body, and then in cell, okay, this biomolecule synthesis happens. Okay, once inside the cell biomolecule synthesis happens, the cell come out from the cell, and then it covers. Okay, in this way only this kind of transformation happens. Okay, so what she thought, okay, so to understand how this glycosyl, this layer works, to understand that, what she has done is that she has used this kind of naturally inspired glycans, and then here she has introduced chemical handle. Chemical handle, what is chemical handle? If you see here, she has introduced azide moiety. Okay, this is chemical handle. So this azide moiety is not there in our body. Okay, if this azide moiety goes into our body could not recognize. Okay, so because like this kind of system, this azide system is not there in our body, so that nothing will happen to this azide moiety. It stays as such. So what she has done is that in this glycan, she has introduced this azide moiety, and then she feed it inside the cell. Okay, this azide moiety has entered inside the cell. You see here. This azide moiety along with the sugar, okay, it entered inside the cell. Okay, this is nucleus, and then here this biosynthesis happens in this region. So what is happening here? Here by using this glycan, so glycoxyl reaction happens, and then this glycoxyl goes out. Okay, and then cover the cell. I told you that this is a cell, and then in cell membrane you have the glucose moiety. Okay, if any antibody should come inside, it has to enter from here, and then it should go inside. Okay, so during that time, if any antibody comes inside, this moiety gives message to our nodes, and then immediately our what is that? This immune system comes and then fight with this antibody. Okay, so her interest is that. What she has done is that she has introduced chemical handle azide, because azide moiety is not there in our body. So if azide goes inside, nothing will happen to azide moiety. So this glycosynthesis happens, and then this glucose moiety come out in the membrane. Okay, now you are having azide moiety. So you can do any chemical reaction. Okay, and then in the chemical reaction, if you have some fluorescent probe, let us imagine. Okay, then what will happen after chemical reaction? You will get fluorescent color. Then you can understand, yes, whatever glycogen, okay, whatever the biomolecule I have put it, like I have introduced inside the cell, that moiety is here. By using that, you can understand, how cancer cell works. This all you can understand. Okay, this is our interest. Okay, so first introducing chemical handle in biological system and then put it inside the cell. So here cell prepares the glycol, it come out, and then here you are having acid. So you can do modification with this acid by using fluorescent marker, and then after transformation you can get nice color. So then you can understand, yes, my whatever input molecule I have given, it is here, and then you can study. So this is the way she has performed. So before going to the split reaction, so initially she has done a transformation by using a Studner reaction. So here the green color is that, here this is marker. Okay, so this moiety gives color. Okay, and then here phosphorus is that, this phosphorus react with acid, you get this kind of halide. Okay, after that, this halide undergoes nucleophilic addition with ester, you get this moiety, and then in this way, in the process of water, it decomposes, and then in this stage only you will get color. Then you can understand, yes, my molecule is here. Okay, in this way only she has performed. So this is the picture you can see here. So this blue color, whatever is there, this is the cell moiety, and then here whatever green color is there, this is the probe. Okay, so then you can say that, yes, whatever the external molecule I have added, it is here. Okay, and then you can do further studies. So in this way, she has performed by using modified reaction condition, but this reaction has several limitations. Okay, so what kind of limitation she faced is that this is slow kinetic. Okay, and then here whatever this phosphorus moiety is that it decomposes. She faced several problems. Okay, what she has done is that by the time this split chemistry has been developed, she has introduced that concept. Okay, here. So she knows how to introduce acid moiety inside the cell. So after the glycone synthesis, your acid moiety stays away from the cell membrane. So now you can do 3+2 cycloaddition reaction over there. Okay, so what she has used is that she has used a strained alkyne. Why she didn't use terminal olefin? You need catalyst. We know it very well. Most of the metals kill cell system, so metal cannot be used for such kind of transformation. So here she used this kind of strained alkyne. So in this case, this alkyne itself, cyclic alkyne itself, highly reactive. You don't need any catalyst to increase the rate of the reaction. So, but here you get mixer, but doesn't matter. Whether this regioisomer doesn't matter here. So, and then she has performed a reaction very smoothly by using acid and then this cyclic olefin, and then she has demonstrated very well. Okay, and then like she could be able to. So this is the image you can see here. The whatever color, this blue color, this is cell, and then whatever green color is there. So here you have a modified glycogen, and then in this way you can understand more about the role of glucose moiety. This is her contribution. So she has successfully introduced this concept, and then she has performed a reaction in biological system. So people later on adopted this method for understanding how DNA works, how RNA work. Okay, she has given more insight on bioorthogonal reaction. So that is her contribution. Okay, due to this excellent contribution, Nobel Prize is awarded. Okay, so this is overall summary of my presentation today. Okay, so what today I have explained is that I have given outline, because I don't want to go more detail in chemistry. So what is happening here? Initially, two professors have, a modified cycloaddition reaction, Diels-Alder reaction. Generally, this 4+2 or 3+2 cycloaddition happens under thermal condition. So you need high temperature to perform that transformation. So by using catalytic concept, they have done this transformation at room temperature. In that way, they have reduced the activation velocity, and then the reaction is also very selective. Two advantages are there, and then they have performed very well. Okay, and then by using this concept, professor, another professor introduced this concept in biological system within cell, how we can do transformation. So in this way, you can understand how biological system works. Okay, so now people are adopting this concept, and then they are studying more about the activity of DNA, RNA, now carbohydrate. This all are happening. So, so this is the overall understanding. So, let me stop here. So, if you have any question, then let's discuss.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Really, it is very interesting, sir.
Yeah. So, thank you, madam.
So usually we used to know, we will come to know that they are given Nobel Prize for physics, chemistry, like that we will come to know. In detail, we didn't know anything on what basis they have given for that chemistry, physics, everything. Now it is really very interesting. Thank you for the presentation, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Professor. You started with like our PhD. We do not know which area we want to do. Like you given the general definition about the click chemistry and where it goes exactly to the point. And there are 4 different reactions and very particular to pericyclic reactions.
Yes, sir.
We really go for these cycloaddition reactions where the click chemistry exactly works on that. And we are very interested to know about this application in different pharmaceutical areas, pharmaceutical industry. That is why because of this application only, it has been selected for this Nobel Prizes. Then we finally explained, very beautifully explained these biological applications. And we're interested about this chemical handle and how this copper-free click chemistry is working on that. And the contribution about the 3 people is very, very important to the society. And we just, of course, we just understand to some extent that how the jargons explain this click chemistry and the author is really matters to that. So thank you very much, Professor,
thank you
for your invaluable time to take and explain.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very kind of you. Very kind of you.
So good evening all. Now it is my immense pleasure to request my HOD to welcome the gathering for the second session of today's science talk.
Sure. Welcome, madam.
It's my privilege to welcome Dr. Ritu Tyagi, Department of French, Pondicherry University. Ma'am has obtained her BA degree in Jawaharlal Nehru University in India in 1999, and she obtained her MA degree in University of California, USA in 2003, and she obtained his PhD in Louisiana State University, Louisiana, USA. Her area of specialization are Francophone and French literature, feminist theory, narratology, women's writing, etc. Her international, she received a prestigious DO Exchange Fellowship with the University Research and Literature Award in 2020. She got Best Teacher at the Department of Pondicherry University in 2014. She is the recipient of Louisiana State University Graduate School Enhancement Award in May 2009. To her credential, he published a book of Ananda Devi, Feminism, Narration and Polyphony in Amsterdam, and then she finished a project with Indian Council of Social Science Research. Ma'am, we welcome you, ma'am. We are very honored to have you for this session, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for your very kind words and generous introduction. I would also like to thank Dr. N. Asokan for having organized this event, where different speakers speak on the Nobel Prize winners. As you said earlier, we keep hearing year after year, this person got award for this reason, and for physics, chemistry, but we never actually get into the nitty-gritties or the details, and that's how we miss upon what is in trend within the international intellectual platform. So it's a great platform. And just give me a few seconds for me to be able to share my screen so that I'm able to show my Is my screen visible to all?
Visible, madam, but put it in the slideshow mode, madam.
Full screen mode.
Yeah, full screen mode. Yeah.
Is it?
Wonderful, wonderful, ma'am.
Okay. So as ma'am said, I'm Dr. Ritu Tyagi, working as assistant professor in the Department of French at Pondicherry University, and I'm grateful to Dr. N. Asokan for having invited me to this platform to share my views on somebody very important and in today's current affairs, and that is Annie Ernaux. And today I will be discussing major themes in Annie Ernaux's works and some points, some strategies in her narration. And many of you by now, many of you who are a part of this gathering would be aware or would have heard here and there the name Annie Ernaux. So today we are going to discover who she is and why should we actually be talking about her. And many of you actually know that she is a contemporary French writer who was awarded the Nobel Prize recently for the year 2022 for what the Academy said, in the words of the Swedish Academy, for the courage and clinical equity with which she uncovers the roots, estrangements, and collective restraints of personal memory. And these are some of the issues in her writing style and the content of her writing that I would like to focus on so that we understand why she was chosen for this award. Now, even before she became famous on the international platform after having received this award, the Nobel Prize, she was quite well known within the French intellectual world, having received numerous awards. Some of the awards you can see are on the screen. For her works, she got the Marguerite Yourcenar Award, the Francois Mauriac Award. In fact, she has received numerous awards for her works. And most interestingly, in 2019, her work, which is, supposedly the magnum opus called Les Années, which was translated as The Years, it was shortlisted for the Man Booker International Prize. So that is how then, even before she got the Nobel Prize, she was well known to a certain extent, even within the Anglophone world. And it so happens that, the French writers, not many French writers have received the Nobel Prize. It is mainly because the texts are in French and it takes them a while to be translated and become accessible to the Anglophone world. And within that group of, a couple of writers who have, who have crossed the borders of the languages and received the Nobel Prize in translation and were accessible to the Anglophone world and were translated into many other languages, Annie Ernaux seems to be the 17th French writer who has been accorded this honor. And therefore, it is a great moment of pride for all of us who have been associated with French language, particularly those working within the French departments in India. And it would also be interesting for us who are looking at French and Francophone perspective from the idea of Global South to understand why Annie Ernaux for Nobel Prize this year. So before, trying to understand the content of her writings and the style of her writing, it would be interesting to look at facts about her life, which are intricately intertwined to the content of her writing. Most of her works are autofictive, autobiographical in nature. So she is a contemporary French writer, as I said, who was born in a small town, Lillebonne, situated in the state of Normandy in France, if I could put it like that, in the year 1940. And, many of you would recognize that 1940 would be a very, very significant year because this was the year of the Second World War, having started in 1939 and ending in 1945, which also becomes a matter of discussion in many of her works, as I would point out shortly. And then a few years later, her parents moved to another small town called Yvetot, where they were able to purchase a cafe and hold a grocery shop. in a working class district of the town. Both her parents were from very, very modest backgrounds. In fact, they worked almost as laborers. Father was a farmer, and they grew up to the level where they could actually buy a cafe and a grocery store, and could also send Annie Ernaux to a school, a private Catholic school. So there was a kind of social mobility. Class is actually a very, very important issue in Annie Ernaux's works, and that is why I'm insisting on this particular background in her biography. And my colleague from EFLU tomorrow is going to talk a lot more in detail about the class issues within her works. Both her parents were able to, rise up in class from laborers to working class people. And so they were able to send her to a private Catholic secondary school in Yvetot, where she had the challenging task of interacting with other people who were elite compared to her class status. And as a result, the first sentiment she felt, and she describes in many of her works, is that of shame. Shame at being a person belonging to a lower class, working class parents. And, that also affected in a lot of ways, her relationship with her family members, about which I will be talking shortly. Most of her works are, autobiographical in nature. People call them autofictive or autosociobiographic. I will talk about that shortly, in which her personal life is mixed with a lot of other things. So in one of her works, she describes the life events. In 1958, at the age of 18 years, she left home for the first time for summer to look after children in the summer camp. And during that summer, living for the first time with a group of people of her own age, she had her first sexual experiences that were recounted in her works, Memoir de Fille, translated as A Girl's Story. And in the same book, she also writes about her stay in London as au pair or nanny in 1960, her first attempt at higher education, which took the form of primary teacher training in a place called Rouen. And at the end of the book, we see Annie returning to Rouen from London to take a degree in literature, having abandoned her dreams of becoming a primary school teacher. And by that time, she had already written the first pages of her first unpublished novel in London. She later on got married to a man from a higher caste. She talks about higher class. She talks about that in some of her works. She had 2 sons, and she also qualified as a secondary school teacher in 2 prestigious competitive exams in France, CAPES and Agrégation. And she started teaching French in a secondary school. In one of her rare returns to Normandy, where her parents were, that return coincided with her father's illness and finally leading to death in 1967. I will be talking about that while discussing one of her books later. And in 1974, published her first book called Cleaned Out in English, translated as Cleaned Out in English, which is a fictionalized account of illegal abortion she underwent in 1964, a time when abortion was illegal in France. She also talks about her move from working class to middle class culture through education. So social background and class factor means a person who has access to, who has moved up the ladder in social hierarchy, who has crossed the working class. In her case, the working class, she has crossed from working class to the middle class. And that is why I have put class defector here, a theme that she treats in almost all of her novels. Then in 1977, her family moved to Cergy, a new town in Paris region. She eventually left secondary school teaching and took up a post at Center for Distance Education. And meanwhile, she started writing and she started getting a lot of literary acclaim in the form of different awards. And she got a large leadership, particularly her work, A Man's Place, which was published in 1983, was quite appreciated in France. She was divorced in early 1980s, and she continued to live in Cergy. In 2000, she retired from her position, and she devoted herself completely to writing. In 2008, she published another novel, which is called The Years, the one which was nominated for the Man Booker, and it is considered to be her crowning achievement in terms of content and innovative form. I will be talking about this as well. In her work, she is known to combine, and that could be one of the reasons why she was shortlisted for the award also, in a very skillful way, her personal life with history and politics. So roughly, I will tell you, it would be futile. She has written around 20 books and she has received more than 10 awards. So it would be futile taking you through that list. But roughly, I can tell you that she charts in her works, she charts her parents' social progression in works like A Man's Place and another work entitled Shame. She talks about her teenage years in a novel entitled Do What They Say or Else. She talks about her marriage in another novel, Frozen Women. She talks about her passionate affair with an East European man in a novel entitled Simple Passion. She talks about her abortion in a form of a fiction in the novel entitled Cleaned Out, and then repeats that in a more autobiographical, intimate form in another novel called Happening. She talks about Alzheimer's disease of her mother in a work entitled I Remain in Darkness, the death of her mother in A Woman's Story, breast cancer in Uses of Photography, and she has also written a work called Writing as Sharp as a Knife with another person, which is in a form of an interview. And many of these works were recognized in different ways. A Woman's Story, A Man's Place, and Simple Passion were recognized as the New York Times notable books. Women's Story was finalist for Los Angeles Times Book Prize. Shame was named a Publishers Weekly Best Book of 1998. I Remain in Darkness was the top memoir of 1999 by the Washington Post. So, we see that she has been, getting all these recognitions much before she got the Nobel Prize. I mentioned earlier that she has written over more than 20 works. So what I have done here is, I definitely won't be able to talk about all the works, but I have divided these works roughly into 3 kinds of categories, also with the intention of showing that, she has a huge corpus which extends over numerous decades, the evolution in her writing style. So she begins in a usual writing style, which is fictive form, in which, she wrote some of her earlier works. They're on the screen. The first one that I had evoked earlier, Cleaned Out, in which she talks about abortion. Then Do What They Say or Else is another work that I evoked earlier. She talks about her teenage years, and Femme Gelée, Frozen Women, in which she talks about her marriage. But interestingly, also taking you all towards her style. These were all fictive works. So there was a safe distance between the person who was narrating the story and the story that was being narrated. She talks about this later in her works as well. Then the second category of works, interestingly, are the works that are autobiographical in nature, and they have been categorized into different kinds of autobiographical works, autofictive, etc. And I will get into detail soon with those. So here I have mentioned 2 works that are of interest to me within this autofictive or autobiographical category. A Man's Place, which was, highly acclaimed, which received numerous awards, where she talks about her relationship with her father. And another one, Infam, A Woman's Story, where she talks about her relationship with her mother. And then, as we are going to discover when we look at some of these works in detail, that all her autobiographical, personal life, events from personal lives are intricately and very efficiently intertwined in interesting ways with the politics, the history of those times, the politics of those times. And so there are a lot of other elements intertwined with the personal. And that is why the third category is entitled as public memoirs, in which she brings lots of other elements along with her personal story. So these are, this is the way I've categorized the evolution of her writing, or tried to look at what she has done over time with her writing style. And I will soon, take a couple of those and enter into details to show what exactly she has done. But before that, I will talk about, as I promised, about some of the major themes, which also sort of, they become important for us to understand why she was chosen over others, and what are the major preoccupations of the intellectual literary world today. So, we started with the first literary work that came out in 1974, Cleaned Out, which was a fictive work which did talk about abortion, and put the debate on whether abortion should be legal or illegal to the fore. So that talks clearly about women bodies, the control of women bodies, which is not with women, and which is with different kinds of systems that are patriarchal in different ways, and women's sexuality, when she talks about her relationship with her lovers and her teenage years. The other major theme in her work is, as I mentioned earlier, bringing together her personal life and her intimate relationships. And here I would focus on two important people in her life: her parents, her mother and her father. She has written works dedicated only, a woman's story is only on her mother. There are many other works also that deal with her mother's sickness, and A Man's Place, as she said in her own words, a kind of tribute to her father, because she also talks about the difficult and the conflictual relationships she had with her parents, particularly because of differences in class, because they had moved from their laborer class to working, but she had moved further away because of her education, and she belonged to the middle class, to more elite class. How did that impact the relationship is one of her major preoccupations in many of her works. Obviously, class consciousness and social inequality. She takes the issue of class within her family as a significant baseline to actually talk about social inequality in France and in the world, which is, something very, very interesting, and perhaps one of the reasons why, she was chosen for the award. Memory is one of the important themes in her work, and how she deals with that. I won't be talking about that here. And writing about writing. Most of her works, as she evolves in her writing, from fiction to autobiographical to autofictive to autosociobiography, tend to become metafictive in nature, means while she is doing the writing, she also describes the process of writing. I wouldn't have time actually to get into the details of metafiction and why metafiction and how it influences her work, because we have a limited time. So a couple of words on her writing style, and I've been talking about autofiction a lot. What is this autofiction? It's an important issue when one needs to talk about Annie Ernaux, because she brings the personal and the remaining on to the fore when she writes. So autofiction combines two mutually inconsistent narrative forms, autobiography and fiction, as the word suggests, but there are numerous definitions, and we have, polished autofiction quite a bit, though I would not be able to enter into details here. An author must decide to recount their life in third person. There are different ways in which the work could be autofictive. The author decides to talk about their life in third person, or modify certain significant details and characters, or bring certain other voices or stories of other characters within her autobiographical work, using fictive subplots and imagined scenarios with real life characters, mostly with the idea of understanding oneself. Because at the end of it, it is auto, that is, that refers to oneself. So all of this in order to understand and construct a certain idea of a self. Then another very interesting thing about her writing style is, they say that her writing is flat. She herself acknowledges that it is called in French écriture plate, minimalistic kind of writing, which isn't new to the French intellectual world, to the French literary world. Roland Barthes, some of the bigger names, perhaps many of you are familiar with Albert Camus. They were all known for their minimalistic kind of writing, a kind of writing that doesn't bring in too much of, which is devoid of many of the usual literary devices like metaphorization and certain other devices that tend to decorate the language, Baroque kind of a style. So they want to move away from it in order to present their stories, or in order to highlight the reality of the characters. And she is somebody who takes that tradition of minimalism to another level. And then, because I'll be taking you through certain passages where you can see that her writing can be called what is described as auto-sociobiography, an autobiography that aims at presenting social realities and is presented in a way that it is instrumental in bringing sociological change. It is closely intertwined to the sociopolitics of those times in a way that it calls upon the reader, or it influences the reader and the society in ways that it can contribute to a kind of social change. And that is what it means, auto-sociobiography. I would like to, if I have time, just check how many more minutes I have, talk about a couple of her works before I want to take you to the passage that I want to evoke to show what she means by auto-fiction, etc. So one of the interesting works that I found was Cleaned Out, a fictive work that talks about, abortion, but it was written in a fictive form, which she thought was not so useful. And so numerous years later, in 2000, she rewrites this work in the form of another novel, which is called Happening in 2000. And this story, written 40 years later, of a trauma that she underwent and could never overcome, is about the abortion, illegal abortion that she had to undergo. And in this work, because it is autobiographical in nature, unlike her fictive work, she sifts through her memories and her journal entries dating from those days. And she explains how shame engulfs her. She knows that she cannot keep this child amidst the retrogressive social norms of the time. She herself is struggling with, many issues of class conflict with her parents. She herself was struggling in school and college to make her way through this, class conflict. And she is at the same time determined to find a solution to this. And she then describes her experience of how she was taken to different kinds of clinics where people really wanted to help her, but they couldn't because of the legal restrictions, and the kind of pain she has to undergo. This is one significant work which I think also contributed to the debate on abortion. And many people, in many of the discussions on Annie Ernaux, this question is being raised, that today perhaps we are talking, we've conferred the award on Annie Ernaux because she talked about the abortion debate as early as, the 70s. And so she is significant within several feminist movements in that way. Another interesting work that, we cannot elide at all, which was also recognized by being shortlisted on the Man Booker Award, is A Man's Place, which is an account of ties that bind as well as separate father and daughter. She describes the relationship with her father in this work. It's a phenomenal work written in a very, very plain and simple style. She herself states that she is adopting this style. She is not going into presenting a portrait of her father, a personal portrait of her father, but refrains from doing that to keep it realistic, because she also wants to talk about this story as a significant story about class differences. So it's a fascinating text in which she takes different kinds of strategies. There are sentences that are in italics that she's reproducing from the time of her childhood. And she says that these are the sentences that build my world. These are the sentences that evoke that world for me, and that also insist on, how limited our worlds were because we belonged to a certain class, how limited we were. So that's a significant strategy, numerous different strategies that she's taking in order to make her point, which makes her very unique in her writing style, and perhaps, somebody who really merits the
Excuse me, madam.
And
excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Ma'am, another 2-3 minutes, can you please conclude it?
Okay.
Another speaker is waiting on that.
Yeah. So there is another interesting work, The Years, which I mentioned earlier, that brings her personal and the political together. So I will just end this talk by reading this passage to you. I'm unable to remove this. Yeah, this passage, which will give you an idea of, how different her writing style is. Just going to take 1 minute. This is taken from one of her writings. All through those years, children boarded trains to Auschwitz. The inhabitants of Leningrad ate cats to survive. Resistance fighters were shot against trees. In the Warsaw Ghetto, naked corpses were piled up in carts with their arms and legs folded in. In Hiroshima, thousands of bodies shriveled up in a few seconds, and Colonel Tibbets, who dropped the bomb, said that golden dust rose up from the explosion. I saw these images on television. I cannot unite them with the images of Lillebonne, where she was, where she spent her childhood days, when parallelly all this was happening in the rest of the world, although they are contemporary to her time when she was having, her childhood. She was also impacted by the war, but not, in the same way. Even when I see them, I can't believe that I was already alive at that time. What I think is significant about this passage is bringing this kind of political history onto the fore, along with her personal history. I think that is fabulous, not only to highlight what was happening in the world, but it is also a way of holding ourselves accountable for what was happening elsewhere. She was a part of that world at the same time. So I think these are some of the issues that make her very different and unique. I will stop the screen sharing. I'm unable to stop the screen sharing. Pause share, yes. These are some of the things that make her unique. And I'll just end with one point, and that is, perspective from India. How would Indian scholars look at her? Within the Indian French departments, there is a growing trend of working on Francophone literature, because it is a literature that arises from the colonial, the post-colonial world, as the case with India. And we have always seen stories from migrants, talking about getting accepted in France, going through different kinds of struggles, feeling the same sense of shame based on race. What is interesting for us from here to look at Annie Ernaux's works is to see that even people in France who do not belong to a certain elite circle are almost going through or have gone through, as is described in Arnaud's works, the same kind of experience. So what we call français de souche is not a homogeneous French elite for us. There are different levels to that too, which I think is significant information for us Indians who are looking at the French writings. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for their attention, and thank the organizers of this forum for having given us this opportunity.
Thank you very much, madam. No wonder that how this the struggle this Annie has gone during from the school days to this their teenage, how he struggled in becoming the primary school teachers is beautifully narrated, that we have the more clarity and good idea about that background and life, and we can be able to understand that this she is the right person to receive this Nobel Prize 2022 for literature. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you. Very kind of you. Very kind of you, madam.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the nice presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now it is my pride to welcome Dr. Ravinder Inder Singh, Professor in Finance, University of Business School, Punjab University Regional Center, Ludhiana, Punjab, former Director, Punjab University Regional Center, Ludhiana. Sir, welcome, sir. His academic qualifications are, he obtained MCOM, MBA, PhD. His teaching experience, 22 years of teaching experience and 12 years of administrative experience. He has edited a book on researchers and paradigm shift in banking, published by Publication Bureau, Punjab University, Chandigarh. His other achievements are, he has conducted leadership development program for the board of directors of various cooperative banks. He has conducted management development program for the managers of various banks. He organized conferences as organizing secretary for the top management of banks, and he organized international conferences. His achievements are very big. Due to shortage of time, I am stopping with this. Sir, welcome you, sir. Now I request our HOD to welcome our chief guest.
Sir, very good afternoon, sir. Very good evening, sir. Very kind of you. Thank you for your invaluable time. We are waiting to listen to you regarding your presentation, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting me to this very
Welcome,
important forum. I'm, really feeling privileged to be associated with all of you. Once again, thanks a lot. And the topic I'll be speaking on today in this conference is global financial crisis.
Yes, sir.
Lessons and some policy implications. I would like to share the PPT before I
Please,
talking about it. I think it's visible to all of you, the presentation.
Yes, sir. Please, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. So I'm a person of finance. So since I'm from this field, so I'll be talking about the issues related to finance, and one of the important area which need attention of most of the researchers in the present era is the financial crisis, which are emerging on a continuing basis. And one of the Nobel Prize, which has been given in the year 2022, is given for the crisis in banking industry. We all know that it is being given to Ben Bernanke and two of his associates, and the most important contribution which they have made, because of which they are nominated for this prestigious award, is the how to protect the banks from the collapse. I'll be talking about this later on, but in the meantime, I'll be talking about about the topic from the global perspective. No, we are living in this VUCA world. VUCA world is, we all know that it's a kind of world where there's a lot of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. No doubt, for the mankind, for its development, for its growth, we need various facilities in our life. But for the smooth provision of the facilities, money is playing a major role here. And money, it is like some people in the world, they have got abundance of it. Some, they are having shortage of it. But those people who are having shortage of it, they need it for productive purposes. And for that matter, in our society, we have got, a system, a kind of institution, a kind of structure, which help in channelizing the funds from those who are having surplus of it to those who are actually in need of it. And in case we look into the major category of the institutions which help us in channelizing the funds from the, haves to the have-nots, they are either the capital markets or the banking sector. Both of these two have got different characteristics. People who want safe, investment, they go to the banking sector, and those who, they are ready to take risk, they go to the capital market. But what has been seen over a period of time, that the investment which you make even in the banking sector, that may not be the safe, that may get defaulted because of the default made by the banks because of the one reason or the other. And this entire field of finance, this entire wheel of finance actually moves on one of the very important factor, and that factor is trust. The person having funds hands it over, to the person who actually is in need of it. The only thing which is making it possible for him to, hand over this money, hard-earned money, to the person who is in need of it is actually trust. Okay, that one day or the other, when I'll be in need of that money, I'll be getting it back. But what is happening? The financial crisis, they actually are causing damage to that wheel of trust. And the work done by Mr. Bernanke and his associates actually, is helpful in maintaining that trust, in keeping that trust intact. We all know banking, what a bank is. Bank collects money from large number of people, and then it invests that money, give this money to some industrialist, some agriculturist, or some, other people who are in need of it. But when bank takes a deposit, the only condition is that the bank will be returning this money back to the depositor as and when the depositor wants. Now, what if the bank is not able to return it back? No, not able to return it back. No, it can be because of the number of reasons. The other party to whom the money has been given is actually has made a default. So that can be the reason. There can be some other reasons. But in case that trust is broken, so there's one thing which is there in the banking industry, which we call it as credit multiplier. I don't know whether you have heard about it or not. In case a deposit of ₹100 is there in a bank, the money which the bank will be lending to different people will be much more than the the amount of deposit it is having. It is because of the credit multiplier. This credit multiplier, how multiple times, how many times the bank will be able to lend money to different people against a deposit of 100 rupees, that depends upon the cash reserve ratio. You might have heard about it, and the SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. And in case this trust is broken, one, because of the one reason or the other, then what will happen? There will be queue of people in front of the bank branches interested in withdrawing their money back from the bank. And there's no bank in the world, be it an Indian bank, be it an American bank, or any other bank in the world, which will be able to return that money back to the depositors. Why? Against a deposit of 100 rupees, it has lent actually money of 400, 500, like that, depending upon the CRR SLR. So the only thing is the trust onto the which this banking industry and even the capital markets, they are surviving. So that trust has to be maintained. And Mr. Ben Bernanke, the former chairman of Federal Reserve Bank, he has given two suggestions in his work to the government. This work was published in 1980 and recognized now for the award of Nobel Prize, wherein he suggested that on the one hand, there should be some insurance for the deposit money given by the depositors to the bank. So when that insurance is there, even if there is some bad news about the bank, I feel confident that, okay, no doubt, bank may get failed because of this reason or because of that, but I'll be getting my money back. Why? Because there is some backing from some insurance company. So that has, built some confidence. That will be helpful in building some confidence of the depositors. So this will help in avoiding, getting long queue of the depositors in front of the bank branches when there'll be some news about the, weakness in the bank. Number one. Number second is, he has suggested that government should act as the lender of last resort. in case bank fails, it will not be one bank which will be failing. It along with this will be taking number of other banks to the ashes. Okay, because all the entire system is interlinked. So we cannot afford to see a bank failing. Okay, small bank fails will cause small damage, but in case a big bank fails, it can cause huge damage. No, in our country, the largest bank in terms of branches is the State Bank of India. In case something wrong happens here, so it will not be State Bank of India which will be getting suffered. It will be entire economy going into, you know, bad shape. So which cannot be afforded. So every effort should be made to protect it. And for that, he suggested that government should act as a lender of last resort and should come in to save the banks. So this is, a very, very important suggestion, very important suggestions, they have given. Because of that, they have been, nominated for this prestigious award. So continuing from there, it is not that the crisis they will happen or they are happening, very rarely. This is a VUCA world, and this volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, we have seen that with the passage of time, it is increasing. And because of this, the financial, lot of uncertainties have come in the, field of finance. Since I'm, talking about the global financial crisis, so I'm talking about the, impact of this volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity related to the field of finance. So look at this. It is not that the financial crises are new to us. The first bank which was established in this world was started in 1472, and since then the occurrence of the financial crisis that is happening. Crisis means that your GDP is into negative growth. Okay, and in all these years, 1876, you can see that there was a negative growth of 2.1 in the gross domestic product. Then 1885 negative growth, then 1893, 1908, then 1914, then 1970, 21. And then one of the major, global crisis, financial crisis we have witnessed in our history is the crisis of 1930, which is called as Great Depression. It was one of the major crises wherein the global GDP went down by 17.6%. And then continuing from there, 1938, 45, 46, 75. And a few years back, we had one of the, again, major crises. It was, a subprime crisis, which happened in America. Now, these crises, in 1630, it was Dutch tulip bubble crisis. Then 1720, we saw South Sea bubble crisis. Then 1980, Japan's real estate and stock market bubble. Then 1990s dot-com bubble, 1996 to 2006, the US housing bubble. So all these crises, happened in the past. These are one of the, a few of the major financial crises. And besides that, the world has witnessed Mexican peso crisis of 1994, Asian crisis of 1997, then Russian crisis, then Argentina crisis, and then Venezuela and Turkey. They also witnessed financial crisis in 2016. And recently, we have seen Sri Lanka facing crisis with respect to the, they were having shortage of foreign currency and they were not able to meet their international obligations, financial obligations. Then, our neighbor Pakistan, they are, moving through that phase wherein some kind of, financial emergency is emerging up. And you might have read in the newspapers recently, Silicon Valley Bank and then Signature Bank, then Credit Suisse, they are into trouble. So all these crises, though the government has been able to control it, the Silicon Valley Bank government has given a guarantee to the depositors that we will take care of your deposit. Your deposit will not go bad. We have been able to, control it. The world has been able to control the financial crisis, which would have emerged from the failure of the Silicon Valley Bank and the Signature Bank. But what I'm trying to say is these crises, they are happening and they're causing damage to the, people, to the wealth they are owning, and they are actually, causing disruption in the economic growth of the world. Now, talking about, the causes because of which these crises emerge. And one of the important causes is the bubble. Bubble is what? Where buyers keep on buying anything at any price without considering the return from it and only with the expectation that they will sell it at a higher price later on. Now, what happens because of this? The price of an article or a product is unnecessarily, get high. It is inflated. So it keeps on rising. Within few days, you will see that the price has got doubled and then more than double. Okay, which is actually unreasonable. Now, one day or the other, when the price will come down, then there'll be losses to the people who have actually invested money there. And when the losses will be there, in case they have taken loan, they'll not be able to repay back those loans to the, back to the banks from where the money has been borrowed. And in case the number of people who have borrowed money is large, the money borrowed is large, then it can cause, serious consequences. This is what happened in 2008, the subprime crisis of America. Then the next one is the currency crisis or the balance of payment crisis. Now, what is this? When because of certain economic conditions, the substantial decline in the foreign exchange reserves or a highly unfavorable balance of payment position, a country faces huge depreciation or has to devalue its currency. So there's shortage of foreign currency. We know that we are, importing products from abroad, and for that you need to discharge your liabilities in foreign currency. Okay, particularly in the US dollar. So in case we are not having sufficient foreign reserves with us to meet our foreign liabilities, so then maybe you will make a default in meeting your liabilities towards the international, suppliers. This is what actually, was going on few months back in Sri Lanka. There was shortage of currency, foreign currency reserves, and because of that, they were not able to meet their, liabilities towards due towards the international suppliers of products, and they made a default. And because of that, there was a lot of UN crimes coming. So they, because of that default, international supplier, they stopped supplying the product. Okay, and that caused a lot of disturbance in the economic development and growth of that nation. Then sovereign default. Sovereign default is when government fails to meet its liabilities due to the international due at the international level. So government fails because of the one reason or the other to meet its liabilities. And the last one is the banking crisis. Now the banking crisis, where banks fail because of any reason leading to withdrawal of deposit of the depositors in a big way. Like in case any bank is unable to meet its liability towards its depositors. So that lead to banking crisis. That denial of the bank to pay back the money which it has taken from the depositors back to them can lead to banking crisis. Okay, larger the bank, larger will be the crisis, because it will not be only one bank which will be be in trouble. As I was telling you in the beginning, that this field of finance actually moves on the wheel of trust. So long as the people who are participating in this field, in this industry, they have trust, the wheel keep on moving. The moment the trust is broken, the entire structure can go haywire, right? So it happened in 1931. There was a run on the banks in US, because we have seen that there was a Great Depression in 1930. Okay, the Great Depression means decline in the turnover of the industries. When there will be decline in the turnover of the industries, what will happen? They'll not be able to repay their loans back to the bank. Okay, and when banks says that we are not able to repay the loan, they're not getting the loan back. They may not be able to return the money back to the depositors. So when that kind of news is there, that the bank is not able to return the money back to the depositor, as I was saying to you, there'll be queue of the depositors asking for their money back, and it will be not possible for any bank in the world to return the money back to them. Then run on the Northern Rock, UK in 2007. It was not that the subprime crisis, which we talk about, emerging from US, has affected the US only. Many of the European nations also got affected, because the thing which was happening in US during that period of time was happening simultaneously in some of the European countries as well. And before the run on bank started, the run on bank, when I say this run on bank, it means the people start making queue before the bank branches to withdraw their money immediately. So it started first of all from UK on the Northern Rock Bank, and then during 2008 to 2012, somewhere around 460 banks failed in the United States of America. It's a huge number, but US is being the big economy. The impact, they could bear the shock, and they could still survive as the number one of the economy of the world. But had it been there in some other countries of the world, it would not have been that easy for those countries to come out of this crisis. So bank crisis normally emerge due to substantial amount of risky lending by banks, resulting in default of loans. So this bank crisis happens only when banks go in for risky lending. This is what was the reason which happened in America and USA, no, in US, with the banks in US and in UK. That was the main reason. Now we need to understand what this banking model, basically the commercial bank model is for. Commercial banks, they take deposits. And we know that the maximum duration for which a deposit is taken by any bank, it is of 5 years duration. But the number or the quantum of that deposit which is taken for 5 years, in case we look into the total deposit base of the bank, will be very less. Most of the deposits which will be coming to the bank will be for a shorter period of time. Shorter period of time means the depositor can take the money back, ask for the repayment of money back in shorter period of time, and the bank need to ensure that it is able to repay that money back to the bank in very small period. But what has been seen that over a period of time, earlier the norms which the banks used to comply with while lending loan to the borrowers, they were very stringent. But with the passage of time, what has happened, the norms have been relaxed, and because of that, banks have started lending money for a longer period of time, number one. Number two is banks have started lending money even to the weak borrowers who are not that financially good, strong, which actually has led to the large quantum of the money given by the banks to the lenders going back. And that actually sometimes result in causing damage to the bank's reputation, making queue of the depositors in front of bank branches for the withdrawal of their money. So bank crisis. Now, what can be the causes and the consequences of the financial crisis? I will be talking about these causes and consequences of the financial crisis, particularly with reference to the 2008 subprime crisis, which happened in America. And from there, I will be elaborating the causes which led to the emergence of the other kind of crisis, and then what can be the solution to all these problems. How can we take care of all this? Now, number one is the causes of 2008 subprime crisis is the credit boom. Credit boom led to excessive debt burdens. Now, in case you look into the data, what we see is that the Federal Reserve Bank of America, which is the central bank of US, we all know, it was trying to keep the interest rates very low. And in case you look into the data, you'll find that during 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, the interest rates in the, for taking a loan from a bank was as low as 1%. The loan was available from bank at a rate of interest of 1%. The rate of inflation was in fact higher than the rate of interest bank was charging. So that attracted people to borrow money from the bank in a big way. And on the other hand, what people saw that the housing industry of the United States of America was growing at a very high rate, somewhere around 13, 14, 14%. So it was very attractive, investment opportunity for the people borrow from bank at 1% rate of interest and invest that in the housing sector at 40, which is growing at 14%. Very attractive, profit making opportunity for the people. And what happened? The lending norms, they were also very lenient. In America, what they do is they categorize the borrowers into three categories. Okay, A class, alternative A class, and the third one is the subprime category borrower. Subprime category borrower is a kind of borrower who is actually not able to meet the requirements needed by a bank for the advancement of loan. To even that person, the loans were given. Now, I am a bit skeptical about this. No, the subprime crisis which happened in America, were they actually natural crisis, or they actually were brought actually to play some havoc with the economies in the world? Interest rate 1%. No, 1% means what? When the rate of inflation is 3, 4, 5%, you are asking for a rate of interest of 1%. So what I feel is, I will try to explain that with the help of one example. Let us say you're driving a train, or let us say you're driving a vehicle, and there's a green light. So what is that green light telling to you? What is it indicating? It says that, okay, don't stop, keep on moving. So the rate of interest, which is equal to 1%, is just like that. 1% means you keep on borrowing. There's no need to think about anything else. You keep on borrowing. And the people who actually were not in need of money, they bought, money, and they invested that in the real estate. Uh, Weak people, those who actually were not able to get the loan because of the one parameter or the other, they were able to get the loan. So that led to uh, boom of credit in US, and that led to the inflated price of the houses in the American economy. Within 7-6 years, the prices of the houses, they went doubled there. And you know uh, and it is, in case we look into history, most credit booms, they end up in financial crisis. The larger the size and the duration of the boom episode, the greater the likelihood that it will result in crisis. History, is there, which tells us about this. The longer the credit period, the larger will be the financial crisis. The mechanism linking credit booms to the crisis include increase in leverage of borrowers and decline in lending standards. When the credit boom is there, so what happens? The debt which the people hold increases beyond their limit to service it, and then along with that the standards also decline. So this is what happened in America. So this, you can see, is the information about the rate of interest which were prevailing immediately before 2008. The rates of interest, they were at a high level, but then they were decreased, and which led to availability of easy funds, which led to investment in the housing sector, which led to increase in the prices of the houses beyond imagination. Within 3 4 5 years, the house price got doubled. And when those prices started falling, because when this Federal Reserve realized that the crisis may emerge, they started hiking the rate. When they started hiking the rate, the demand for the housing industry started going down. Okay. And you know uh, in case we look into the records of the Federal Reserve Bank with respect to the crisis, there's one thing which is very, very important, which I would like to highlight over here, is that when they estimated how much loss will be there because of this subprime crisis, the estimate was that it will be around $228 billion, $228 billion. But finally, it emerged to be, a kind of crisis wherein the loss will be of $4 trillion, from $228 billion to $4 trillion. Now, what was the reason behind this? There's one, rule in accounting. We all know about accounts, wherein we maintain our financial books, the record of the financial transaction. And that rule is match the market. Match the market. Now, match the market means what? Match the market means what? Let us say I'm holding an asset, and the value of that asset is, let us say, 100 crore rupees. And suddenly this asset in the market starts trading at, let us say, 120 crore rupees. So match the market means that I am allowed to increase the value of that asset from 100 crore rupees to 120 crore rupees. Right? And that will be, showing that I'm in profits. Though I have not sold that asset, I have increased the value of that asset just because the market value of that asset has gone up. And similar to this, in case the value of that asset goes down from 100 crore rupees to 80 crore rupees, I'll be marking it down, though I have not sold the asset. Okay, I have not incurred the loss. But the accounting system is, it asks for that you should match the value of the asset to the market, and you should reduce its value in your books, and you should book the loss of 20 crore rupees. Now, this is what happened. People were investing in the mortgages, they were investing in the houses, and when the houses were being purchased, since the demand was there, so the value of the houses were also, it was also increasing. And we know that when bank lend a loan against the house, they take the house as a collateral security, and the value of the loan will be fixed according to the value of that house. In case the value of a house is 1,000, let us say 20 crore rupees. In case the value of the house is 20 crore rupees, then they'll be lending you 16 crore rupees or 15 crore rupees like that. No, that 20 crore rupee actually is the inflated value. Because of that easy availability of credit, huge demand, pushing the value of the houses to the highest level. Because of that, the value is getting recorded at 20 crore, but actually it may not be of 20 crore rupees. So bank have started loaning, taking the value of house equal to 20 crore rupees. They have lent 16 crore rupees, but now what happened when the news of subprime crisis started emerging in? The same houses which were valued at 20 crore rupees, without any reason, their values, came down. Okay, because the housing bubble burst, value came down, and then what happened? Now, when banks see that I have given a loan of 16 crore rupees, the house was valued at 20 crore rupees, but now the value of the house has come down to 10 crore rupees. Now, bank will have to do what? Match the market. Will have to reduce the value of security from 20 crore to 10 crore. There's no loss actually. There is no loss actually, but bank will have to book the loss, though the security is same, house is same, everything is same, but when it will be booking the loss, the bank will look like it is into losses. So this actually has happened with Silicon Valley Bank. Silicon Valley Bank, you might have heard the news or read the news in the newspapers, is one of the prominent banks in America. So most of these startups, Indian startups particularly, they are investing their money in the Silicon Bank. And against that money, Silicon Valley Bank has purchased some government debts, some government bond it has purchased. Now, what has happened? In the recent past, the Federal Bank of America, of US, is we know, is increasing the rate. Now, there is inverse relationship between the rate of interest prevailing in the economy and the value of the bond. When the interest rates go up, value of the bond goes down. Okay, now interest rates going up because of the Federal Reserve Bank increasing the rate, the value of the bonds, wherein the Silicon Valley Bank has invested the money, the value of those bonds getting started, declining. So falling that match the market value, Silicon Valley Bank has to book the losses. Now, when depositors saw that Silicon Valley Bank is running into losses, it may default in making the payment of our deposit back to us. They started a run on the Silicon Valley Bank. Okay, and as I told you, no bank in the world will be able to return the money back to all the depositors from where the money has come with. So the Silicon Valley Bank, was caught in the crisis. It, raised its hand because the money is invested. It will come back with the passage of time. It's not possible to return the money back. So it, defaulted. Then the, government came to, the rescue of this bank, Silicon Valley Bank, to save it. So this is what, bank crisis is. So, this match the market. I don't know. I was, I was talking about the subprime crisis, whether it happened or it has been brought in, I don't know. But this match the market concept has played a havoc here. This match the market accounting rule was there, it was started somewhere in 1840 or 1850, somewhere like that. And then 1930, a huge crisis took place. Then also this match the market rule played a havoc. 1938, it was taken away. This rule was taken away. And the, again, there was seen economic recovery. You stop, okay, you ask today Silicon Valley Bank, okay, don't follow this rule, match the market. The losses which they are showing will not be there. And in case losses are not there, the confidence which the depositors are losing in the bank, in case they're not able to see those losses, that confidence will remain intact. In fact, the 2007, 8, 9, period wherein US faced crisis, during that period, match the market, rule was there. This rule was taken away in 2009. And then there was, recovery of the system, recovery of the economy, American economy from, slow growth to good growth. It started growing. And one thing which very, very important happened over here, why I was talking about whether this crisis was brought in or, it came in naturally. You might have heard AIG Group, insurance group from America. They were into crisis. Okay, because they provided insurance to the banks against the deposit and for some other kind of products. When the bank was crisis, so they were asking for the repayment from the AIG group, and AIG group found that the value for which they have provided insurance, they are not capable to service that value. So what happened? The government came to its rescue. US government came to its rescue against it.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes, yes.
Another 2-3 minutes, Professor, please.
Yes, yes, I'm concluding it.
Yeah, please.
So, because of that, AIG group was taken over by the government for 80% equity, and they provided $85 billion of rescue to the AIG insurance group. But later on, in 2012, government sold the stake which is purchased in AIG group against a profit of $22 billion. They made a profit of $22 billion out of it. Now, I'll be proceeding ahead. So this is about the credit booms and lending standards. As the credit is increasing, you can see from here that the lending standards are going down. Okay, and this is the subprime mortgage credit boom. Subprime lending to the weak section, the people who are not actually eligible. The red part is showing subprime crisis, subprime lending. You see with the passage of time starting 2000, the portion of red, this color is increasing, means lending to the subprime category of people, that was increasing. Then credit and housing price inflation. So this upward moving line is showing that there was a positive relationship with the growth in the credit, the housing price, they were going up. Then, this large and long-lasting credit boom often ends up badly, as I was telling to you in the beginning also. The credit booms, the larger the credit boom, the worst will be the result. This is what has been, proved in the history also. Credit boom of a reasonable level should be there. In case it is of excessive level, then of course we are going to land into, the crisis in the coming time. The second important part, credit boom on the one hand, and the second important issue which led to the emergence of the crisis was the asset price increase, which that turned out to be unsustainable. I was talking about the housing prices. So just have a look onto the index of the real US house prices. In 2000, the house price index was somewhere below 120, but by 2008 it was almost 200. So that was the quantum jump in the prices of the housing. This was unreasonable, artificial, and it was bound to come down. So since houses was were taken as security, when the price came down of the houses, the value of the security came down, mark to market. That concept that forced the banks to book losses, that those losses brought in lack of deteriorated or damaged the confidence people were having in the banks, and that led to the coming in of the 2008 subprime crisis. Then failure of regulation and supervision to keep up with and go ahead with the crisis when it erupted. The housing industry was witnessing sky high in their prices. The credit boom was there, the leniency in the grant of credit was there, but the regulators, they could not sense it till the crisis erupted. So there should be some kind of mechanism where we are able to see beforehand that this is going to happen, so that proactive measure can be taken and crisis can be avoided. Then 4 key aspects were new. The aspects which I have discussed earlier: increase in the asset prices, lack of supervision, and the credit boom, they happen seen that they were there happening with the other crisis also, which took place before 2008. But there were certain new things which happened in the 2008 crisis. It was the introduction of innovative products. Since time is less, so I'll not be able to go into the details. Some new kind of products were introduced, called securitization, collateral debt service agreements. Then credit default swap notes were introduced, which actually helped the banks to further gain liquidity. After advancement of money to the lenders, they were able to package those loans into one product, and against that product they were able to sell some instruments in the market, and again raise that some money from the market, and again lending that money to the new borrowers. So that provided greater degree of liquidity to the banks, and even poor quality lenders, against the loans given to them, some refinance were available to the banks, and because of that this all happened. Then this is about the securitization. This is what I was talking about. Securitization means what? The bank which the loans which a bank has given, they will be actually coming to the bank in installments over a longer period of time. What the bank was able to do in securitization, those loans, they were packed into one product. Against the security of these loans, they were issuing new instruments, which was called as securitization. So that provide additional liquidity to the banks. RBI, in India and central banks, they try to control the liquidity across the world of, of in their economies to remain, to bring in the stability in the economies. But securitization provided an innovative instrument in the hands of the banks through which they were able to gain additional, liquidity. So that also helped in, increasing the advancement and leverage. Look into this thing that in case you are having an income of 1,000 rupees and you have taken a loan wherein the installment will be 1,200 rupees, so of course you will be making a default one day or the other. So this is what happened there, securitization. Then the crisis happened in America, but the ripple effects of this, they were felt across the world. Across the world, even here, some of the banks, they went on to the verge of collapsing there also. In India, we were able to control it. There was not much effect because of the visionary leadership we had then in place here. So globalization is in retreat to the, you can see the globalization, the index of globalization. No, in 1870, the index was 17.6%. Then, in 2008 went to 60%. Then it started, it has shown some, retreat. Then new dimensions increasing financial integrity, already we have talked about it. Then cross-border banking. Cross-border banking means all the banks across the world, they are actually linked. Okay, the degree of linkage may be different. Like, you can see from these, graphs, the cross-border lending, Euro area banks, they are having the highest cross-border business in the world, followed by United Kingdom banks, then United States banks, and then Japan. The highest, the exposure, the foreign exposure which is there is actually of German banks. You can see the other, graph here, and the green line is telling. So the higher, it means what? The greater the integration, the greater will be the impact felt in the other countries of the world, even though that, bank does not belong to those countries from, जिसमें crisis आया. So this is, that's why the impact of subprime crisis was felt in, the other parts of the world also, because there is cross-border banking, linkage, global integration is there. I'll just skip this one. So now, what I was telling to you is that, interest rates, keeping the interest rate low, actually that led to credit boom, that led to bubble in the prices of the housing industry. And this is seen, it's a common feature everywhere, wherever the crises are happening. Interest rate low is causing, is one of the factors which is causing damage. So should central banks keep the interest rate low? So this is a major question which should be taken into consideration. Then government intervention to resolve, because this is what the government does. Government provide liquidity by providing low cost funding, support of the short-term lending. They provide guarantee, like the way they did in case of Silicon Valley Bank. They purchase the non-performing assets. Capital is given to the bank so that liquidity is maintained. But what we have seen in 2008 crisis of US, the government given a grant of support of 700 billion US dollars to the banking industry for its survival. But instead of banks going up, they went further down, because already there was too much of liquidity there, easy lending, low rate lending. So the further this support added, it acted like a fuel in the fire, and further caused damage to the system. Only after 2012, this sector started, the economy, the American economy started coming up. So lessons what we got from these crises is macroeconomic policy, they need reframing. With the monetary policy objective should be, they need reframing. Nexus of monetary and regulatory policy should be taken care of. Then fiscal policy, and this is the crisis has reopened debate on what issue should monetary policy be concerned with the financial markets developments. This seems like the wrong way of approaching the problem. What we are doing actually, monetary policy, we are trying to regulate the financial market through that. Should policy be used to dampen booms and prevent build-up of leverage? That should not be the case. What could have been done? There are other instruments at the policymakers' disposal. To reduce leverage, capital ratio can be increased. Like to increase the liquidity, regulatory liquidity ratios can be increased. Like in case of banks, we know CRR, cash reserve ratio is there. Okay, from 4%, you can make it 7, 8, 9% instead of giving the loan at low rate. Okay, you can fix, the debt equity ratio, which you say at present is 33%, debt 70, 67% equity. You can make it, debt will be only 20%, equity will be 80%. To dampen the housing prices, loan to value ratio can be fixed. Okay, so the things like that can be done. So with this, I know I would like to conclude my talk since the time is already,
Yeah.
I've exceeded the time. So thanks a lot to all of you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's a financial crisis is starting from this the world, the 1840 to 1850 from to what is the artificial bubbles, how it has been created, and it makes that even including this your recent the Silicon Valley Bank, how this nitty-gritties, how it has been crashed when matching with this market level. We even though we are some of the people participants maybe the out of financial, not the financial background, we can able to understand from your articulations clearly that some outlines, some ideas definitely we got into that. Thank you very much for your
Thanks a lot.
invaluable time you spent with us, Professor.
Thanks a lot for for associating me with this platform. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Professor. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, feedback link will be posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it. Dear participants, feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it.
So all the participants, thank you very much. Thank you for your invaluable time spent with us. Please join us tomorrow evening 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
For the third day. Yes, sir, please, sir, tell me, sir. Shall we close, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Dear participants, we all meet you by tomorrow by same 6 p.m. for the third day of our top Nobel Prize talk. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, all the participants. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Thank you.
Sir, please wait, sir. I will close, sir.
Okay.
Sir, shall we close? Subramaniam, sir.
Sir, HOD, sir, you please make me as a host, sir. I will close.
Please. Okay.
Sir, okay, sir. Sir, you can leave, sir. No, I will close, sir.
Okay, sir.